All right, so let's dive into some tough news today out of the NBA. Victor Wembanyama's season has come to an end.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty shocking stuff. You've probably seen the headlines, but we're going to break it all down for you. What happened, what it means for the Spurs, and then we'll even zoom out and look at some similar situations that have rocked the sports world, and get ready for some serious stat bombs too, because Wembanyama was on an absolute tear before this news broke.
It's crazy, right? I mean, what strikes me is just how this whole situation, it throws a wrench into everything we think we know about pro sports. Like, we're so used to these athletes being these larger-than-life figures, but then something like this happens, and it reminds us that they're human too. And for Wembanyama, the stakes are even higher given his age and all the hype surrounding him.
Yeah, absolutely. So the news broke Thursday, deep vein thrombosis, which basically means a blood clot in his right shoulder. Now, the silver lining here is that doctors are fully expecting a full recovery. But the season that's done for him, I mean, can you imagine being a Spurs fan right now? It's like a 1-2 punch. First, Coach Popovich's stroke a few months back, and now this.
It's rough. It's a tough break for the team and the fans, for sure. But, it's important to note that while serious, this isn't completely unheard of in the NBO. I mean, we've seen players like Chris Bosh, unfortunately, have their careers cut short because of blood clots. And then you have guys like Brandon Ingram and Oscar Thompson who were able to bounce back and get back on the court.
Right, and even outside of basketball, you have someone like Serena Williams who came back from a similar health scare and absolutely dominated in tennis. So there's definitely precedent for recovery here. But Wembanyama's age, that's a whole other layer to this story. I mean, he's only 20 years old and already carrying the weight of such massive expectations. This is a crucial point in his development of this setback. It definitely throws a wrench in things.
No question about it. And it brings up a crucial point we need to consider. It's not just about him physically recovering, it's about the mental side of things too. Can you imagine the mental impact of having to hit pause so suddenly, especially for a young athlete with so much potential? How do you even process that and stay motivated to come back even stronger?
Right, and it's easy to get lost in the emotional side of this, but let's not forget, Wembanyama wasn't just playing well, he was shattering records. We're talking almost 25 points, 11 rebounds, nearly 4 blocks and assists per game.
I mean, come on, those are some ridiculous numbers. He was on pace to be in the same conversation as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar statistically. No one in NBA history has ever attempted as many threes and blocked as many shots as he had before the All-Star break. He was a force of nature. And his teammate, Chris Paul, said it best, you can't replace that kind of talent.
Absolutely, and it goes beyond the stats, right? I mean, he brought this energy to the team, this certain something that you just can't measure, but that impacts a team's performance in a huge way.
100%. You're talking about team morale, leadership in the locker room, that intangible X factor that a guy like Wembanyama brings to the table. It's hard to quantify, but it absolutely makes a difference in how a team plays.
So where do the Spurs go from here? They're already trying to navigate Coach Popovich being out, and now they've lost their star player. This is a real test of their depth and their ability to adapt as a team.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge for sure. They're going to need other players to step up and fill the void left by Wembanyama, and the coaching staff will have to adjust their game plan. It will be really interesting to see how they respond to all this adversity.
And then there's Wembanyama himself. He's got this period of recovery and rehab ahead of him. But there's also the mental and emotional aspect to think about. How does a young athlete in his position even begin to process this kind of setback?
That's where the medical team comes in. They're not just focused on getting him physically healthy. They're there to support him through the mental and emotional hurdles that come with an injury like this, making sure he has the resources and the guidance to come back even stronger, both physically and mentally.
It's a tough situation all around. And while we're on the topic of recovery, the article mentions that doctors are still trying to figure out exactly what caused this blood clot. Sounds like that's a key piece of the puzzle here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, finding that root cause is crucial because it's going to directly impact his treatment plan and his long-term outlook in the sport. Is this a one-time thing, or is there something else going on that needs to be addressed? Those are the questions the medical team is working to answer. There
is a little bit of good news in the article, though. They mentioned that if his recovery goes well, there's a chance he could actually play for France in the European Championships this summer. Now, that would be a huge boost for him physically and mentally to get back on the court and represent his country.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on. And, this whole situation, it really makes you think about the bigger picture, doesn't it? We're talking about athlete health, preventative care, especially in high-intensity sports like basketball.
Yeah, you're right. We often get caught up in the highlights and the amazing things these athletes do, but we don't always see all the work that goes on behind the scenes to keep them healthy and performing at their best.
Exactly. This whole incident could end up sparking new research and maybe even new protocols, not just in basketball, but across all sports. It's a reminder that we need to constantly be looking at how we're protecting the well-being of these athletes who push the bodies to the limit.
We've talked about some of the other players who've dealt with blood clots, like Chris Bosh, whose career was tragically cut short. But then you have guys like Brandon Ingram and Ozar Thompson who were able to make full comebacks. And of course, there's Serena Williams, who came back from her health care to dominate in tennis.
Right, and those examples just show us that there's no one-size-fits-all answer here. Every case is different, and the outcome depends on a lot of factors. But the fact that other athletes have overcome similar challenges, I think that offers a reason for optimism in Wembanyama's case.
And you can't forget the incredible outpouring of support he's gotten from the entire basketball community. Kevin Love, for example, spoke out about how important Wembanyama is for the future of the league. It's clear that everyone is rooting for him to make a full recovery.
Absolutely, and that speaks to something really powerful, Even in a world as competitive as professional sports, there's this underlying sense of community and shared humanity. When one of their own faces a challenge, everyone comes together to offer support and encouragement.
It's a good reminder that sports are about so much more than just wins and losses. They're about human stories, about overcoming obstacles, and about the unyielding spirit that drives these athletes to be their best.
And that's what makes this whole story so compelling. It's a story about talent dedication, but also about vulnerability and resilience. It reminds us that even the most gifted athletes are human and they face challenges just like everyone else.
So as we wait for more updates on Wembanyama's recovery, the big question becomes, how do the Spurs move forward without their star player? How do they fill that void on the court?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? They're already dealing with Coach Popovich's absence, and now their leading scorers out. It's a true test of their depth, their adaptability, and their collective will to win.
They've got a tough road ahead. But the Spurs have a history of resilience. They've faced challenges before, and they've always found a way to come out stronger on the other side.
It's going to be fascinating to see how they respond. This could be an opportunity for other players to step up, showcase their skills, and contribute in new ways. We might even see some unexpected heroes emerge from this situation.
And that's what's so unpredictable and exciting about sports. Even when things are tough, there's always room for surprises, for growth, and for moments of inspiration. We'll definitely be watching closely to see how it all unfolds.
And as we wait to see what happens next, this situation offers a valuable lesson for all of us, both on and off the court.
I'm curious, what do you mean by that?
It's a reminder that success in any field often depends on a delicate balance of talent, hard work, and crucially, good health.
That's a really insightful point. We tend to focus on the achievements, the accolades, but we often overlook the importance of well-being.
Exactly. And while we admire the dedication and drive of these athletes, it's crucial to remember that their health should always come first. This whole incident with Wembanyama, it highlights the need for a continued focus on preventative care and athlete well-being across all sports. It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it? Like, here we are talking about this amazing athlete and his future, and it all comes down to something as unpredictable as a blood clot. It's a reminder that even with all the talent and hard work in the world, sometimes these things are just out of our control.
Yeah, it's humbling, for sure. But what's interesting is that the article mentions Wembanyama might actually still play this summer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they said there's a chance, depending on how his recovery goes, that he could suit up for France in the European Championships.
Wow, that would be incredible. I mean, not just for his physical recovery, but I think mentally too, to get back out there competing, representing his country, that would be huge.
Absolutely. And speaking of the bigger picture, this whole situation with Wembanyama, it really raises some important question about athlete health and preventative care, especially in these high-intensity sports.
No doubt about it. I mean, we're constantly pushing the limits of what's physically possible. And we've seen it time and time again, right? Athletes pushing themselves to the edge, and sometimes their bodies just can't keep up.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder if this could be a turning point. Could this lead to new research, new protocols, new ways of protecting these athletes who are putting their bodies on the line day in and day out?
It's definitely possible. I mean, we're always learning and evolving in sports medicine. And this incident with Wembanyama, it could be a catalyst for some real change, a shift towards even more emphasis on preventative care and making sure these athletes are getting the support they need to stay healthy.
That would be amazing. And it's not just about the physical side of things either. It's about the mental and emotional well-being of these athletes too.
Oh, absolutely. The pressure they're under, the expectations, the constant scrutiny, it's a lot to handle, and we need to make sure they have the resources and support system to cope with all of that.
So as we wait for more updates on Wembanyama's recovery, the big question is, what happens to the Spurs? How do they move forward without their star player?
Well, first of all, let's not forget they're already dealing with Coach Popovich being out, so now they've lost their coach and their star player in the same season. It's a huge blow.
Yeah, it's tough. But the Spurs have always been a resilient team. They've faced adversity before, and they've always found a way to bounce back.
That's true. This could actually be a chance for some of the other players to step up and prove themselves. They're going to need to find a way to fill that void left by Wembanyama, and it'll be interesting to see who rises to the occasion.
It's definitely a situation we could shake things up in the Western Conference. The Spurs were already considered a bit of an underdog, but now without Wembanyama and Coach Popovich, it's really anyone's game.
Exactly, and that's what makes this so intriguing to watch. The NBA is always full of surprises, and this just adds another layer of unpredictability to the mix.
Absolutely. It's going to be fascinating to see how the rest of the season plays out.
Well, one thing's for sure, this whole situation with Wembanyama, it's a powerful reminder of how fragile things can be in the world of professional sports. 1 minute you're on top of the world, the next you're sidelined with an injury that could potentially change the course of your career.
Yeah, it really puts things in perspective, and it makes you appreciate the incredible resilience of these athletes who face these kinds of challenges and come back stronger than ever.
Exactly. They're an inspiration to us all. It's a bell situation, but what? The entire basketball world is rooting for Wembanyama to make a full recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it would be a huge loss for the sport if this setback, if it had long-term consequences.
He really is a phenomenal talent, and his potential seems almost limitless. But as we've been talking about this situation, it goes beyond just basketball. It raises some important questions about how we take care of athletes in all sports, and it shows us that we need more research and new ideas in this area.
It really makes you think about how this whole experience will affect Wembanyama's game going forward. Will he come back even stronger? Will this challenge push him to a whole new level?
It's certainly possible. Adversity often reveals a person's true character, and it can be a powerful catalyst for growth and resilience. Wembanyama has already shown us incredible determination and a strong work ethic throughout his career, and it's likely that he'll approach his recovery with that same level of commitment.
It's definitely a story we'll be keeping a close eye on. In the meantime, we're all wishing Wembanyama a speedy and complete recovery. We can't wait to see him back on the court. Amazing fans with his incredible talent.
Well said. This deep dive has been a great reminder of how unpredictable sports can be and the incredible resilience of the human spirit. Wembanyama's journey, with all its ups and downs, is an inspiration to us all. We'll continue to learn from his experience and advocate for the well-being of all athletes as they strive for greatness.